the UK's tax system. Brought to you by Google's Bookkeepers. Please do subscribe, like and share the channel if you've enjoyed the content. So what we're just going to have a look at is an overview of the basic UK tax system, just to give you some hints, tips, pointers, just to get you to understand what is it all about. And you know, this stuff generally doesn't get explained to you at school. It affects us all, so let's just have a brief look at this together. So tax years, just the basics. Okay, the UK tax year begins on the 6th of April every year. So when people talk about the financial year end, start of the financial year end is the 5th of April, and it begins on the 6th of April every year. Don't ask me why, but that's the date they chose. Every UK individual, man, woman and dog, can earn a set amount each year, quote unquote, tax free. Now, at the time of recording, in terms of the personal allowance for the 2020-21 tax year, and that means it's the year ending 5th of April 2021, the personal allowance is £12,500. So as an individual, you can earn that amount and pay no tax. No questions asked, nothing. That's just what you can earn. Everyone's allowed. Now, anything above that, the basic rate of tax is applied. So if you earn £12,501, it's the amount above the 12,500 that gets taxed. So if you were £1 above it, you'd be charged 20. Well, I say not charged is the wrong word, but there's a tax to pay at 20%. So on £1, you'd be paying 20 pence. Above the 50,000, you get into what's called the higher rate of tax, and at that rate, it's 40%. So if you earned 50,000 and £1, then the £1, which is above the 50,000, would be charged at 40%, and then the figure, the sum you earned on the amount between 12.5 and 50 would be at 20%, and still the first 12.5 would be at 0%. And then there's still an additional rate. Anything over 150,000 is at 45%. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. I don't know what the other countries around the world charge. I'm sure there are other places where it's higher. I'm sure there are other places where it's lower. But I always say to people, don't worry, if you're paying tax, even at 45%, what does that mean? It means you've made some money. Why are you upset about that? And taxes are going to hopefully be spent by the government to make a better society for all. So this is what your tax paying money goes towards: the NHS and schools and hospitals, that kind of thing. So let's just look at a worked example of where, for example, we've earned £14,609. Okay, so this is what we've earned. In terms of the tax, what would happen is your first 12,500, there's no tax to pay on that. And so the difference is 2,109. There's income tax to pay on that amount, and that would be at 20%. So the tax due would be £421.80. Now, there is another consideration, being national insurance. And generally, and this is because these thresholds change each year, just at the time of recording, roughly, and this is just to give you a rough idea. I just want to give you an overview of how this whole thing is working, so maybe you can understand your payslip a bit better, or make a decision as to how things work or whatever. The first £792 per month, there's no national insurance, and then anything earned above that is at 12%. So if you pay yourself roughly about £800 a month, there's no tax to pay, or shouldn't be any tax on your payslip, and just a small amount of national insurance, just for example. So this 792 works out at roughly 9,504 over a period of 12 months. So if you were to earn this 14,609, your first 9,504, there's nothing. Then on the difference, there's 12% for national insurance. So just to give you a ballpark, roughly £612.60 is the kind of national insurance you'd be looking at. And if you earned this over a period of, let's say, 12 months, divide this by 12, you'd be paying about £50 national insurance per month. And if you divide that by 12, roughly about £30 of tax, maybe about £35. Now, national insurance, just to give you an example, if you earned £1,000 a week, there's nothing on the first £183 a week, which works out to be £792 a month. So the first bit of any income is tax-free, national insurance free, and then after that they apply it on your earnings at 12%, and that's only up to £962 per week, and then above that there's an extra 2%. And so looking at this example here, if we did earn £1,000 a week, the first 183 is fine, as in there's no national insurance applicable, but it would be applicable on the next £817. £817 at 12% is £98.04. However, it's the amount up to £962 in the week. So therefore, 1,000 minus 962 is 38. So your 817 minus 38, it's 779. You may have to pause this, get your calculator out so that you can follow along with me. So £779 worth of your £1,000 a week would be at 12%. So remember, your first 183, no national insurance. On the amount that you earn between 183 and 962, it's at 12%, which is this amount. And then anything above 962, which in this case it will be £38 because of 1,000 minus 962, so there's £38 above that. So £38 will be at the 2%, and that's where the 76 pence comes in. So that's how your national insurance works, just as an example. There is an online calculator if you're ever stuck or wondering what is this, or if I got paid this amount, how much could I expect. It's a good way to look at your manually check your payroll calculations. And I mean, if you're working anywhere, people use software these days. The software does all of these calculations for you, but sometimes people do have difficulty understanding their pay slip and the deductions and the reason behind them. Now, for personal tax, basically when you have a job, your employer deducts your tax every payday, so there's nothing to worry about. Your tax has been taken care of as you go along. They pay the tax deducted to the HMRC every month. The deadline is normally the 19th of the month, although if you pay electronically you have until the 22nd. So that's what your employer is doing in the background. Employed people pay their tax as they go along. The difference between the employed and the self-employed is that the self-employed people pay their tax at the end of the year. So if you fill out a tax return and you want HMRC to calculate your figures, and some people still do a paper return but they're trying to stamp them out, your deadline is the 31st of October. But for the vast majority of people who file online and do it themselves, they have until the 31st of January. Now, in terms of tax codes, in the present tax year 2020 to 21, the normal or standard tax code is 1250L. If you look at a pay slip, you may see your tax code is this. I'd say the vast majority of people, 1250L. And what that means, you just add a 0 this is how you calculate what your tax-free allowance is. You add a 0, and it means that you can earn 12,500 tax-free. If your code is 1230, then it means you can earn 12,300 tax-free. For the vast majority of people, their standard code is 1250L. You may have a tax code which is slightly different because you may have under or overpaid tax in a previous year, and they're just sending you an adjustment. And within a tax year, they could amend your code. And if they do amend your code, they write to you, and they'll write to your employer. Your employer has no legal ability to change your tax code. A tax code change must come from the HMRC. So if you're on a tax code that you think is wrong, or just, it's just not wrong, does seem right, you can contact the HMRC and they can change it. And you can also split your tax code between 2 employments as well if you've got 2 jobs. So any other questions, please email in admin@booglesltd.com. If the video is helpful, please do subscribe, like and share the channel. Brought to you by Boogle's Bookkeepers.